Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again with another Perils in Paradise card review. We have a ridiculous Mage Legendary that I think is going to have a big impact, not only in Standard, but Wild. It might bring back an archetype that, well, it's got some galaxy brain plays, let's put it that way. If you want to win this card, the other cards in Peril in Paradise, we're giving away 2 regular pre-orders, 1 mega bundle out of my pocket to enter that giveaway. Like and comment in the video, link down in the description below, the one with that thumbnail over there. Be subscribed to the channel. For every 1,000 subs we get until all the cards are revealed, I will add another mega bundle, so hit that sub button, make me go broke. So this is the first Mage Legendary to be revealed. There'll be one more later. This is not the tourist card, but it is a card that is going to allow for some possible scams in King Tide, a 4 mana, 4/4 legendary with Battle Cry. Both players' spells cost 5 until the end of your next turn. So what that means, you play it, let's say you play it on 4, your opponent, it's got that Dusk Fallen Aviana vibe, right? Where the first card costs 0. Your opponent will be able to play whatever spell they want, I guess for 5 mana. Then it's your turn, and then you can play a spell for 5 mana. However, let's say you play this on turn 9, you play it for 4, then you could just cheat out. Let's say the Projection Orb, right? You could play that. You could play the Yogg spell, or I have a feeling if we're getting a big spell card, there might be some big spells revealed by either myself or Fido in tomorrow. I think the major reveals are tomorrow. Regardless, it allows for some potential scams. There are downsides, obviously, to this card. Duskfall and Aviana wasn't exactly a great card for some reasons. The fact is, on average, when you play this, your opponent can play a big spell instead, right? Before you can. The thing is, if you take a look at the Hearthstone meta these days, what decks are really running that expensive of spells that you would really get punished by this, right? I guess you got Warlock with the wheel. They could play Symphony of Sins for 5 mana. A Warlock or a Warrior could play, I guess, Trial by Fire for 2 mana less. I mean, rogues don't spend any mana on spells. It'd actually be punishing them, right? They won't be able to play their spells. A lot of classes, this is outright like in a Lotheb effect. Most decks in today's Hearthstone play cheap spells and no big ones. There's so few that do. Obviously, you could run into a Rainbow Deathlight where you play this and they could climactic necrotic you and you probably lose the game if it's just decently ramped up. So depending on the matchup, you might not want to play this. But overall, I actually think this has super strong potential to be quite strong when you do have a card like the Projection Orb. You have Sunset Volley. Who knows what else we're going to see coming out this expansion. This is a card you can just play on 4, curve into that big spell, and do some really big scams, right? That could be extremely solid. And that's not even considering what could happen in Wild, where you could play this on 4, and just like back in the good old days, you could play Luna's Pocket Galaxy on 5 like it used to be. And in Wild, big spells are even less prevalent. Basically, you'd be hampering the popular decks, the Null Rogues, the Garrote Rogues, the Demon Seed Warlocks. This counters almost every deck in Wild the way it works, making their spells cost 5. It's actually could be even better in Wild depending on the meta. There's so few decks that run big spells. The closest I can think of is probably Big Shaman, and even then it's Eureka is their top at 6 mana. So in Wild, this seems incredible. And you also have Puzzle Box, you have a lot of other stuff, and then you have Parrot to follow, because Parrot doesn't look at the discounted cost, it looks at the base cost. So Gray Sage Parrot could then repeat stuff and do things. I don't know if you want to repeat Pocket Galaxy, kind of redundant, but this has tons of potential in Wild in particular. So it's absolutely a card that could open up a lot of stuff. It's crazy. You're not going to believe me on this, but Mass Mana Cheat in scams typically can be pretty good. Again, there is the downside. Your opponent could possibly utilize it, but you just look at almost every deck in the game, they're running cheap spells, or if you take a look at like Hand Buff Paladin, they play Magatha with literally all minions and weapons. They don't play a single spell, so this would just be a 4-mana 4/4. Doesn't even really slow them down. It's a really strong card. I think this is extremely strong. It's one of these cards that could be even stronger in Wild, which I really do think it is. And I don't think the downside of having your players, the other player having the spells is that big a deal. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of the time, it will be a strict benefit from you. Of course, we'll have to wait and see what the remainder of the cards from Mage will be this set. And it's important to note that, you know, Mage can be used by other classes. In particular, Druid will be able to use this card, and Druid has a lot of big spells. It can do a lot of good stuff with that. So you might have to contend with a Druid playing King Tide, and in Wild getting like Ultimate Infestation. I guess in Standard they get like Drum Circle, other big spells. Who knows what else they might get this expansion. It's a very, very terrifying card, considering the classes Druid and Mage that can absolutely utilize this. As a result, I gotta give this a meta strong rating in Standard. Like, I think it's a 4 out of 5 in Standard. I think this, again, the fact it's a possible upside on top of upside rather than upside with downside, like a Dustfall and Aviana, which is just, again, purely downside for the most part. This could be really strong. And in Wild, again, where those decks like the Pocket Galaxy Mages, just a big spell scam mage, maybe it brings Belinda back into the mix. Maybe it's worth it to do all that stuff. I don't know. But the fact that you could cheat out stuff as early as like what, on turn 5? Okay, that is pretty slow for Wild, but it really does act like disruption, right? Like it punishes so many Wild decks. And again, Druid can like Ultimate Infestation, do some crazy stuff with it too there. I don't know. I'm going to give this a 4 in Wild too. I think this is absolutely a terrifying card that could absolutely see some realistic play in Standard and Wild, whether it's for Mage, whether it's for Druid. We don't know the tourist cards yet, the Druid tourist card or the Druid tourist card that will access Mage. We haven't seen that yet, but still, look out. This is one scary king of a card. So there you go. That card deserved its own little review. In an hour, there will be more reveals, so stay tuned for that. And an hour after that, we got, again, 3 videos today. Stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.